Hello everyone and welcome back to K-All. I'm your host, Angel, and today I'm really excited because I'm coming to you with a little bit of bonus content. So TABLO and RM recently dropped a song called Stop the Rain, and as you know, I am your favorite residential army. I absolutely love BTS, but I also love Epic High. I'm part of their high school fandom. So, because of that, I want to come to you with an in-depth analysis just of what I received from this song, what I received from the music video, and even go a little bit deeper into Epic High's artistry, as well as some surprise BTS members that may or may not have made an appearance in the music video. You might be a bit confused, but it will all make sense, just trust me. Okay, you know what to do. Give this video a like, subscribe, and comment down below just how you're doing, what you thought of the song, and just how your life is going. But yeah, don't forget to follow us on all our social medias and listen on Spotify and Apple because we are there. Without further ado, let's get it. Now, you may notice that I have a bit of a different look going on today. I'm wearing glasses, and that is because I recently got a new pair and I didn't feel like putting contacts in today. You know, it's final season, your girl is stressed, she's trying just to survive, but that's why we're here. We're here to stop that inner rain, that internal turmoil that we're all battling with, regardless of what we're enduring in life. RM and TABLO explore the kind of pain that doesn't just come and go, it lingers, sort of like a downpour that just refuses to pass. And for both of these artists, rain becomes a metaphor for mental and emotional turmoil. But instead of trying to outrun it, they're really challenging us within this song to say, "Hello, rainy days." That is the first lyric, after all. And it's kind of a sign for us to greet the storm, and in doing so, we can actually begin to heal. In the eye of the hurricane, there is quiet for just a moment, as Hamilton once said. I'm so sorry, guys. In the beginning of the Stop the Rain music video, there are a ton of Easter eggs that are relating to Epic High's discography, and I wanted to briefly mention those. TABLO did like an entire commentary video on this himself, which is why I'm not going to go too in depth, but I do want to mention the things that I initially pointed out as soon as I watched the video. One of them being the Stop the Rain card deck, which TABLO and RM have a couple special releases that they're giving away to fans who analyze the music. They also have Epic High family portraits that are riddled throughout the front page, which is really cute. Front page, front scene. They also have the Map of the Human Soul album cover, which is the album that Epic High released in 2003. I highly recommend because it's what influenced BTS's Map of the Soul album series. And if you want a song to listen to, check out Go. That song is so much fun, and also Lesson 1 in parentheses TABLO's word has so many beautiful sentiments within it. It's a really powerful song and the lyricism is crazy. Another thing that I noticed in this video is the pink car that's placed on the ground next to the boy who's like listening to music sitting on the floor. That definitely represents their recent EP, Strawberry, because there's this car on the front cover that I know all too well, because when I went to go see Epic High in concert 2 days after my birthday, I actually made a sign where like baby me was driving in that pink car, so insert photo here. But yeah, so I know that car all too well. Not a Taylor reference, although it really is. And you also see the middle finger light stick, of course, which is Epic High's emblem, their brand. And there's also an adorable cat that's on the ground that I like to call Nablo for Namjoon and TABLO, but in a perfect world, its name would be Yoongles, because you can't tell me that's not finding Yoongi part bajillion. Also, on the wall in the first scene, Epic High's album Love Scream makes an appearance. So those were like the initial things that I noticed. Comment below what you noticed, if you know Epic High's discography, or if there was anything striking that really caught your eye. Now, going back to the card deck, something that's very significant is the actual image on the cards itself. And what that is basically a boy who's like falling, who has wings. And it's very much reminiscent of the story of Icarus. In Greek mythology, Icarus flew too close to the sun and he ended up melting his wax wings and plummeted to his death. Now, Icarus is sort of a symbol for what happens if you're too overzealous and overambitious and you let that get the best of you to the point that you rise too high and you have this immediate fall. So that's something that Epic High and BTS kind of reference throughout their music, which I find really, really interesting because they almost keep Icarus alive within their music. And if that sounds confusing, I'm gonna explain what I mean right now. In one of TABLO's songs that's called Lost One, at least Lost One is the English translation for the title, he says at the end of the song, Icarus lives. Now, to understand this and have a better context, I want to bring up what he mentioned actually on Stationhead recently, that he started writing these lyrics after seeing an interview of BTS when they were starting to reach the heights of their fame, probably around 2017, 2018. And at the time, he was worried for them. He had this fear that if they rose to such unimaginable heights, if they tried to touch the sun, that their wings would get scorched, just like how his had when he was mistreated and completely misunderstood by the public, all because of an insane school scandal that was built from absolute blatant nonsense. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, iHeartRadio has an incredible podcast called Authentic, the story of TABLO. At times, he's talking to his daughter, and at other times, he's talking to younger artists like BTS. He's just worried that they would have to endure the hardships that TABLO did. So there's lyrics like, I hope you can reach your dream. Icarus lives. I hope your dream only shows you things that you can hold on to. And that is just really powerful because he's saying that don't let other people destroy your dreams for you, and don't be in fear of dreaming, but also recognize that the ability to dream is a precious gift. To me, the idea that Icarus lives is very hopeful because it's showing that it's not bad to pursue your dreams, even if other people might point their finger at you or judge you. I think that it's important to recognize, as long as you don't lose yourself in the process, that you can never be the lost one. And that's what TABLO's lyrics actually say. He comes to terms by the end of everything saying, you think that I lost? No. You're the lost one, for I have lost nothing. I have me. So the ability to rise out of the ashes like a phoenix is something that no one can ever take away from you. They can't take your power. They can take a lot and they could break a lot, but they can't break your soul. You won't break my soul by Beyonce. Now, when I read the lyrics to The Lost One, I found it very similar to Yoongi's song, Snooze, because within this song, he's also writing to younger artists that he worries about, and he wants to raise awareness for them to know that the path that I chose to walk on was not easy, and I want you to have the ability to dream in peace and to take rest days, to relax, and to not go so quickly, because as fast as you rise is as fast as you could fall, because the people who once loved you can suddenly betray you. But he hopes through his lyrics that their trials will end in full bloom and that the younger artist will bloom through the muck a lotus flower, just time and time again overcoming the darkness. So he says, dream until the end of your life. However humble your beginnings, may your future be even more prosperous. So I just think they really sit in a very similar vein, their lyricism and those two songs, both powerful, beautiful, real songs, authentic. Another thing though, as I mentioned, TABLO references Icarus within that song. When I think of Icarus references in BTS, I feel like the entire Wings album is a reference to Icarus because it's the boy gaining his wings, and we see with the Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video, how Taehyung, he loses his wings. He has nothing there. It looks like they were like broken off or burnt off. And in Boy With Love, BTS's song with Halsey, Namjoon raps, "Sometimes I prayed, let me run away, but your pain is my pain. When I realized that, I vowed to myself, with the wings of Icarus you gave me, not towards the sun, but towards you. Let me fly." Which, first of all, that is such a romantic line. Imagine somebody telling you that you're basically their whole world and that the wings that you gave them led them to fly towards you instead of the sun. Like, they're ready to crash and burn in your love. They're ready to like give their entire heart, body, and soul because that's how much they love you. Like, wow, that's crazy. Also might be a little bit toxic because if they lose themselves only to gain you, then how are they ever going to recognize themselves when they look in the mirror? Which goes back to fake love. But I digress. It's still a pretty sentiment. And what I wanted to mention also is that in the Run music video with BTS, Namjoon holds up an Ace of Clubs butterfly card. So those wings, once again, connect with Icarus. And I feel like it's no coincidence, it's a kitty incidence that TABLO decided to make a deck of cards to reflect Stop the Rain. It absolutely ties to the Most Beautiful Moments in Life chapter with BTS, the Wings chapter, and Epic High's music. They have so many Icarus references that I could go on and on about, honestly. And maybe I will in a future interview with TABLO if you're interested, because it turns out he's heard of KOL Podcast and he actually saw my analysis for Stop the Rain on Instagram, which I am eternally grateful for. And I'm hoping that's just the beginning because I would love to dive deep into your music, TABLO. Listen, I'll put a presentation together. We could go song by song analyzing your artistry because the world needs to know your genius lyrics. Kim Namjoon, TABLO, geniuses in their own right. Now that we got those Icarus references out of the way, I think that it's safe to actually dissect the lyrics. Okay, so going back to the lyrics, TABLO reflects on being told that he was gifted growing up, only to end up being shamed for how he chose to use that gift. So he says, "You told me I was gifted, but to unwrap my mind was wicked." So the very talents and gifts that TABLO had intellectually, when he tried to apply them to something that he loved and to how he best understood how to use them, which was rapping, he was told that that was wrong, that that was corrupt, that it was unjust and a waste of his talents. Now, I can't imagine the agony he must have felt because he was just trying to get a sense of who he was and use his gifts in the way that he felt most joy from. His lyrics speak to the agony of being punished for flying too high, just like Icarus. Here he's seen not as a poet or a lyricist, but he's seen as a target, because he says, "What good is a bird's eye view when you're in a hunter's crossfire?" So the line "to unwrap my mind was wicked" captures that grief of watching your brilliance really become a burden. And I think that is such a powerful and relatable lyric, honestly, to a lot of young people. Especially, I think that I can relate as a gifted kid, gifted kid burnout. It's a very real problem. When you're growing up and you get such good grades in school, your parents, your teachers, everybody tells you that you're going places. You're going to use that skills and those talents and go to med school, you're going to become a lawyer, you can become a doctor, become a politician. I've been hearing that all my life. And when you get older, you start to realize, wait a minute, I want to use my intellect for something else, something more creative. But if you go the non-traditional route, that can be seen as wasting your talents. If you don't see an end goal for a future possibility, there's fear. And that fear leads to the insinuation of failure. But I think it's so much more powerful and a true testament of strength and intelligence to seek the unknown, to go above the perceptions of what people think you should be doing, because only you know your true destiny. And even if you don't know where you're supposed to go, having something that makes your heart beat means you're already ahead of the game. So in the lyrics, he says how I was raised by guilt, raised by shame, raised by the rod, bloody calves sacrificed in the name of their God. And his no wonder I've always hated the adults in the room shows that this is something that runs deep within him. He's never going to be able to eradicate that trauma and that feeling of being suppressed all his life, but TABLO is able to turn over a new leaf in the way he acts as an adult and how he takes care of all the younger artists as well as his own daughter, how he teaches her how to love, how to live and love, not suppress somebody, not wound somebody and tell them that they're not worthy just because they aren't following what you think they should be following. Now, RM really picks up on this thread and adds his own fears, hinting at the shadow of the 27 Club, which is a very tragic age that many artists have died terribly young at. At 29, when he wrote this song, he imagines himself sinking in a bathtub, not drowning, but looking for another club. So he's kind of trying to find another temporary escape, another new club that can offer him some sense of relief from the ache of simply existing. Which, it's no surprise in Serendipity he wrote the lyric, we bloom until we ache. So his lyrics, RM, always have to do with pain and living and the joy and the sadness, how they're like these two sides of the same coin. So in order to feel great love and harmony, you also have to experience great pain. These themes are a continuation throughout his discography, especially in his recent songs that he must have written at the same time as Stop the Rain. In Lost, he also experiments with breaking rules. He tries to go out and let go, finally going to a club. And for a moment, it feels like freedom. But by the time we get to his song Hectic in Indigo, which was actually released prior, but written around the same time, that freedom has soured. The room is full, the music is loud, but the conversations are hollowed out, they're empty. People talk and liquor talks, as he sings, surrounded, yet alone, entirely alone. There's no substance to these conversations. And together, these songs all reveal something raw and honest, that pain doesn't always vanish, it evolves. And sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is stop trying to escape the rain. We have to start learning to walk through it and know that you never walk alone. I can't help myself with the BTS references. Another thing that I wanted to mention within the lyrics is he says, I know, but you gotta know my life is out of love, which is such a great lyric because it ties back to his song on Right Place, Wrong Person, Out of Love. My life is out of love. My life is out of love. My life is out of love is a double entendre because on one hand, everything Namjoon does is out of love. Everything he creates for ARMY, his music, his band, his team. But at the same time, he's saying my life is out of love, as if it's run dry. He's exhausted. He can't find true love within his life. And that is causing this great conflict, this cognitive dissonance, so to speak. All the lessons he's learned already are coming out of trust. And then TABLO comes back in. I love their little back and forth. Keep my mind steady, but it's hard to readjust. Nothing stops time, but the clock will turn to rust. It's using a very strong metaphor to imply that even mechanisms that measure time will eventually decay. So time is relentless and everything ages, which is such a deep and introspective lyric. Pain and rain, they still say the same. And you can hear how pain and rain are almost synonymous with each other, like a prolonged rain or a prolonged pain. So RM and TABLO each tried different ways not to feel, intellectualizing pain, escaping it through nightlife or alcohol, searching for stimulation and distraction, but none of it truly heals. Instead, the rain keeps coming, and the only real path forward is to learn how to greet it.